This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
All right, good morning. Thank you for having me on. My name is Byron Revels. I'm the CEO of VigilSight, and we are taking a new approach to home and neighborhood security. So show of hands, how many of you have a security system or a camera from a company that's up here on this list? A lot of us, okay. How many of you specifically have a home security camera? A few, okay. So here's where the idea came from. When you're thinking about kind of the traditional home security players, a lot of them are very reactive in nature, so they have passive alarms. They're waiting for a door or window sensor to trigger, and that then calls the cops, and the cops put it at the low priority list because 99% of the time it's a false alarm. So there is a new breed of cameras out there, Ring, Nest, Arlo, and others, that are actively, or they're triggered based on motion alerts. So they only start recording when they sense something. And specifically, since a human, you can set it over on that side of things. And so they put it on you, the homeowner, to then monitor that motion alert, judge it to be suspicious or not suspicious, and then if you see something you don't like, it's up to you to kind of triage that incoming alert. And so when I moved into my first house a couple years ago, I put up Ring cameras and immediately started catching some pretty interesting things at night. So if you're familiar with car door checkers, they're definitely an issue here in Charlotte, an issue across the country. And I was out of town, started waking up to people trying to get into my cars at 3 a.m. in the morning. And so, you're asleep, you get it 3 or 4 hours later, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so I initially had the thought of, well, certainly there's a company out there that provides active monitoring of exterior home security cameras. CPI does that, Luke does that, right? They actually don't. CPI, for instance, will start monitoring a camera internally after they've had a door or window sensor triggered, and Ring, Nest, Arlo, etc., all they care about are shipping devices and having you monitor them. So that gave me the idea for VigilSight, an active monitoring service for exterior home security cameras that would judge the activity for whether or not it's suspicious and then call the cops if necessary. So I was able to land a meeting with Ring and essentially pitched them on this idea and said, hey, if you will offer this as a service, I will sign up. I'm a customer and I'm a big fan. But I have an idea that can make this better for the actual homeowners and neighborhoods. And the idea is for me to create an independent company that can go and integrate with all of the leading camera manufacturers to provide a unified monitoring service, enter in the neighborhood effect. The reason for that is because when you go on Nextdoor, for instance, you'll see that there's people posting videos of suspicious activity. Someone down the street will also post that video. And so everyone's capturing all of this information on different types of devices. And so in order to provide ultimately better actionable information to the authorities, we need to be able to capture all of that in one unified platform. So that's where we came up with VigilSight. And so it's relatively simple in how the process works. We have a monitoring team that monitors incoming motion alerts for people that have signed up. They judge those motion alerts for suspicious activity or detect suspicious activity. If it is suspicious, they then place a call to the police. And so one of the nice things is that because of how we are set up, we are not a home security company, so when we call the police, it's actually the top priority designation, so that we get 2 officers responding to each call of ours. You can integrate your existing camera, so it's a BYOD concept. We have one competitor, one direct competitor out there, a company called Deep Sentinel. They require you to purchase their cameras, but they do provide this active monitoring service outside of the home. Arlo, Ring, Nest do not. Ring is our first partner that we've completed integration with. Arlo is our second partner, and we're completing integration with them. And then Nest is early stage in progress. We're also in talks with some of the leading home security companies, one of the big locally based ones here, looking at opportunities to integrate with some of their existing customers and also provide additional types of information to our service around a home security alarm, a traditional one being triggered, while also seeing someone down the street that might be judged as suspicious. So how does it work? You sign up, it's $20 a month for your primary camera, $4 a month for your existing camera, and that's for nighttime monitoring. So we're monitoring between the hours of roughly 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I say roughly just because I don't want to tell you exactly when we're going to go live in case you're out there prowling, but that's meant to be a joke. And so we're actually going live on the 18th, so I'm here asking for you to sign up. You can sign up on VigilSight.com, and we're excited to get rolling.
So are you marketing directly to the consumer, or are you able to, through your partnerships, get onto that platform and get maybe some initial signups from their customers?
So initially in Charlotte, we're allowed to market directly to Ring customers and Arlo customers. Okay. We're also working with Ring, or really Amazon now, on actually being embedded into one of their monthly Protect plans. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're in that process and looking to have something done by the end of April with them on being embedded into a Protect plan, which opens us up to over 20 million cameras.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I mean, initially I'm like, oh, security, it's so crowded.
Right.
And I mean, I was like, wow, good for you. You got a meeting with Ring. You're integrated. You're ready to go. I mean, congrats on that. I mean, that's just you're off to the races. But the marketing is the question that I don't see anything on here in terms of you want people to sign up. So please do sign up, support our local entrepreneurs. But what is your acquisition strategy? How are you thinking about that? Because it can be very, very expensive when you're just going direct to consumer.
Right, so traditional alarm companies, their marketing is pitched to you protecting your home and pushing the fire ants out into the next yard, essentially. Our marketing approach is that this is truly a neighborhood effort, and so you signing up makes your entire neighborhood safer. Mm-hmm. And so we want you to join to be part of the ecosystem to help improve the security of the neighborhood, because we're really then serving as that integration point that is able to make everyone's home safer, even if not everyone is signed up. Mm-hmm. And so that's really kind of the overall pitch there. But so what we're talking about with Ring is that it'll be a new level of Protect plan, and it'll include active monitoring powered by VigilSight. So we'll still be a brand there. I think ultimately where this ends up in phase 2, though, is that we're not actually providing monitoring services. So for one of the large home security companies that prefers to do monitoring themselves, mm-hmm. They're interested in actually licensing our software, and then us being able to provide alerts of suspicious activity in a general area where they are also seeing it. So it's not that they're monitoring someone else's cameras, it's just that they get the information for when there's been some sort of alert thrown for suspicious activity. So the goal there is to just really serve as that integration point.
I missed that part. So you're saying that you're going to be like an API that somebody can subscribe to for just a stream of alert data, and someone else is doing the ops and the monitoring. You're gonna.
That's what I think we'll get to in phase 2. Phase 1, just to get it off the ground, is to do the actual monitoring ourselves. So we have people that are starting Monday night that are staying up all night.
Okay.
But phase 2, that's where I believe this will end up.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
And I mean this genuinely, so don't take it the wrong way. Was this a commercial because you want people to buy, or a pitch because you're raising money? Because I have a different set of questions depending on what you're doing.
Commercial,
okay,
while also trying to provide some of the insight into just kind of the business model. So
if it's the commercial angle, which is fine, my questions are more like end user consumer value proposition stated more directly. Like, I've got these cameras, are you cheaper? I've got these cameras, are you guys going to respond quicker? I've got these cameras, we've got these cameras, we've caught things, here's what happened and here's how the consumer benefited. Like, if you want me to go sign up, tell me why. Tell me why I'm in it. I mean, it sounds cool. I think it's an interesting space. I'm fascinated by what you guys are doing because, I'm paying AT&T $70 a month for God only knows why, and I don't know why I can't turn it off because I'm lazy. So, and the recurring revenue streams here, these companies trade at like 100 times MRR. So the value of the business can grow exponentially very, very quickly. Right. But if you were trying to get me to sign up, I want more like whys. I want to know as the consumer why I should do it. And I'm gonna also want to know, because I sadly see all the news, that you're not, that these videos aren't ending up, somewhere, nefarious, or you're using it to train someone else's AI or whatever. So I just think if it's more the style of the commercial, which I appreciate, I'll go check it out. I would like to see more kind of consumer value proposition stuff.
Good feedback, thank you.
Steve's very worried about his data
and
his information. In case anyone.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
There's a theme this morning.
I'm not your target market.
Calm down,
that.
Calm down.
Yeah, I understand that.
But I think along those lines, I mean, again, it just gets back to, so there's the marketing proposition in terms of how you're positioning it, but it's also how are you going to acquire customers and how much is that going to cost?
Right.
And again, where you can, if there's ways that you can leverage these partnerships where you're even acquiring customers and you're cutting them into the MRR, that is good for them and it's good for you, and you might get traction faster versus having to go directly to everyone else and trying to, social feeds and, you can try scare tactics, you can try like warm and fuzzy things, but it's still, you're having it's a high cost of marketing if you're going that route.
Yeah, and that's the route we will get to quickly. It's just that, like with this very phase one initial piece in Charlotte, it's, hey, you guys go sign people up, and then while you're doing that, we'll work on baking you in to where we'll market it.
Yeah, it sounds like you got restricted kind of, like almost a restricted sales territory in the interim until they test you guys out. Is that what's happening?
For a month. It's really more to let us work out the kinks, that sort of thing.
And I think that's fine, and then that just means like work them out.
Right.
And like, stay up all night, you too, with your guys monitoring.
Oh,
So
I am.
You're working through this, but I think it's I think it's very interesting because you're going at a partnership angle, and you're trying to solve something that is a gap from what these folks are offering. And then the question is going to be, do they want to build it themselves?
So that's been the initial thought with each of the partners that we've spoken with, and what we've been able to convince them of so far is that there's if they join our ecosystem, they're ultimately looking out for the consumer's best interest.
Yep.
And if we get them to agree with that, then we've been able to get them to join us. And then there's some level of, with the camera companies too, we've been able to actually build a loose partnership with the CMPD here locally, and it's something we believe we can replicate in other cities, where the CMPD doesn't want to, they won't endorse a camera company or anything like that, but a service that integrates information from camera companies, makes their lives easier, is something that they will get behind, and that's where they've been great with working with us on specific scripting for when our agents call in and different pieces like that that ultimately lead to faster response times and shifting the home security paradigm from walls in reactive type approach to a walls out proactive one.
So the other thing is, as you're thinking about this, like pricing wise, I don't know how you got to what was it, $19.99 a month? People are price sensitive, and I don't know if there's a magic to that number. If you're planning also through this, like to test $14.99. I like how you're doing 2 months free if you sign up for the annual contract. I think stuff like that is smart. I might also think about a referral program. Just as people kind of get into this, how can you leverage, that it's cool, it's new. Maybe someone else in the neighborhood, or maybe it's somebody who's just a friend. But the $19.99, I just don't know if there's a lot of thought into that, and if maybe Ring and some of these partners gave you that number to start at. I'm just curious as to how you got there.
It allows us to pay essentially a kickback or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you're going to get netted down by it's basically ends up being like an affiliate deal, right? They're going to bring you a volume of installed base, and they're going to net you down something off the affiliate.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say, even at a significantly lower price point, the margins are still very appealing once you get up to above 10,000 cameras.
Yeah.
So are you just using this test, like sort of this test market, to then like build your base, that then you can go get funding?
So potentially, we're looking at a strategic investor that's up on that board, but part of their investment would not be, the motivation there is not funding, it's more that their equity would be tied to how many users they could drive us. So.
Customer financing,
Yeah.
So I just have a technical question for you.
Sure.
I'm going to be the consumer again. So I've got several Nest cameras. Some of them point outside, some of them point inside. How do I know what you're looking at and not looking at?
So in the onboarding process, you select which cameras you are actually signing up for the service. And so you will be instructed to not sign up one of your internal cameras.
At like a device level, providing like a device level ID, so that you know that your monitoring is bound to a single camera in my home.
Right, and also when you are actually signing up your cameras, we ask for a description of the camera. So we want to know backyard, side yard, front yard, driveway, so that if we track that.
Okay.
And if you have, so I have ADT and I have Ring, and is it $19.99 a month for me to do both, or do I have to pay per camera?
So you have an ADT camera and a Ring camera?
Yeah.
Okay, so and right now we're not integrated with ADT at this point, but for Ring, so it'll be $19.99 a month for Ring. And then it would be $5 a month for your additional camera.
Okay, and if I had 2 Ring doorbells, it's the $19.99 a month.
If you had 2 Ring doorbells, it would be $25 a month. So it's $19.99 for the primary camera, and then $5 for the additional camera.
Okay.
Part of what we're attempting to do here is to drive additional camera adoption as well, just because we believe the more cameras, the better for home and neighborhood security.
That's interesting. Anyone have
Questions?
any questions?
Yeah.
Did you guys try working with HOAs or Nextdoor? It seems to be a better approach for customer acquisition.
So we're talking to Nextdoor. That's something we're going to hit in probably month 2 or 3 to do advertising through them. HOAs doesn't seem scalable, so we've kind of steered away from that. And there's some companies in the license plate reader technology field that do that, and they're not really scaling effectively. But Nextdoor for sure.
We got time for one more.
If these are third parties watching these videos, how do you determine that it's suspicious activity? I mean, you personally know that that person shouldn't have been in your car, but that could have been your neighbor that left the phone in your car and you didn't get it until they went to work. So how are we not just exacerbating the problem of people calling the cops on people that shouldn't the cops call?
100%. So those agents are VigilSight employees, and they're trained on there's a training program that's been approved by the CMPD, specifically that has qualifications for what qualifies as suspicious activity. And so they're only doing that if these certain things occur, and if it's questionable, they will not call. And the other piece is that because we have it at nighttime only, there's going to be significantly fewer events to actually be monitoring, and you have the flexibility as a camera owner to say if you get up at 5 o'clock every day to actually set the hours so that it will stop at that time.
And that's it. Thank you, Byron.
Thank you.